There are about 20 in the case of Biden. For Trump, there are more than 300 classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. A big difference here by Biden's own standard. Wasn't Biden totally irresponsible with classified information? And
the media is going wild over Joe Biden apparently keeping some classified documents at his private residence. And this is a complete non-story, and I'm going to explain why. So, look, I have no reason to defend Joe Biden. You can search my channel, search his name, criticized him countless times over actual things. This is a complete nothing burger. And the over focus on this story is going to, unfortunately, turn public opinion and make them less concerned about what Donald Trump did, even though what Trump did is much different, as I will break down here. And I'll also show you a couple of appearances, one from a Democrat, one from a Republican on CNN with Jake Tapper, and how CNN is, both siding this story, even though there is not both sides to this. This is just, I didn't initially cover this story because I thought it was obvious that this was nothing. Yet, over the weekend, that's all the focus was. So I will try and help explain how stupid this all is. So let's start with what is happening right now. Republicans are currently decrying the double standard in handling of Biden classified documents case because, of course, Trump took documents, Biden took documents. They're exactly the same. No, not at all. So Politico breaks it down pretty clearly here, but I'll get to these videos in a second as well. They write, Trump is under investigation for willful retention of classified records because he ignored, this is the important piece here, Trump ignored direct requests from National Archive officials, a grand jury subpoena, and even a personal visit from the Department of Justice's top counterintelligence official. The FBI seized the documents pursuant to a search warrant only after they discovered that Trump's attorneys lied to them and that documents had been moved inside Mar-a-Lago after their visit. If you or I possessed top secret information in our home, the feds wouldn't ask for it politely or even issue a subpoena. The DOJ bent over backwards to treat Trump with kid gloves, which makes its case that he willfully retained classified material particularly strong. DOJ officials under the direction of Special Counsel Jack Smith are also investigating obstruction of justice and could bring those charges even if they decide not to bring charges related to classified records. So this is the Trump situation. He was asked to give them back. He did not. Asked multiple times. Even got a visit from the DOJ. Then his lawyers lied about what documents that Trump had. Gave some back, pretended he didn't have anything else when they had a lot more. Very different from what happened with Biden here. So in contrast, Biden's attorneys reportedly notified the National Archives shortly after classified documents were located in November at the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement think tank in Washington, and turned over the documents thereafter. While Biden did not publicly reveal this problem of his own accord, the DOJ didn't have to send letters or grand jury subpoenas, obtain search warrants, or make personal visits to take possession of the documents. In December and January, Biden's attorneys notified the DOJ that they had found classified documents at Biden's residence on 2 separate occasions. The attorneys notified the DOJ. Biden's own attorneys found the documents, willfully gave them away to where they were supposed to, and that's like there's not even a story here. There's nothing here. So you could say, politically, it was stupid for Biden not to realize that he had these classified documents. Or look, maybe more will come out, and Biden stole these documents for a reason and kept them for a reason, and that will come out. But currently, his lawyers gave these documents up. If they had simply not done that, if they had found no documents, because again, Biden was not being pestered by anybody to give these documents up. If they had simply not found the documents, there wouldn't be any story at all right now because no one is looking for documents. But Trump denied, again going to potential ulterior motives as to why Trump was denying those requests and why he wanted the documents. Biden, again, didn't even know they were there. Now, let's first get to This appearance, this is Comer, a Republican, James Comer, on his statements previously about Donald Trump and how they differ now to Joe Biden. So this is as clear as day, but let's watch this.
Let's go there because you're talking about the Trump documents. Former President Trump is under an investigation for his own classified documents. There are about 20 in the case of Biden. For Trump, there are more than 300 classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. A big difference here, just on the facts, Trump did not fully comply with the subpoena. His lawyers falsely told investigators that they turned everything in. Take a listen to what you told CNN about this situation last November.
I don't know much about that. That's not something that we've requested information just to see what was going on, because I don't know what documents were at Mar-a-Lago. So, you know, that's something we're just waiting to see what comes out on that.
But is it fair to say that investigation won't be a priority?
That will not be a priority.
So what do you say to viewers who don't understand why President Biden's documents seem like a big priority for you, but President Trump, who took hundreds more documents, did not comply with the subpoena, did not reach out to the National Archives or the Justice Department to say, hey, we found these documents? It's not a priority. Do you only care about classified documents being mishandled when Democrats do the mishandling?
Absolutely not. Look, we still don't know what type.
Before I continue, it's almost adorable at this point that they even pretend that, like, obviously this is purely political. The difference here is so clear, yet he's going to pretend really that no. All I care about is justice. I care about treating both sides equally. Me, a Republican, on CNN, where I clearly do not care at all about what Trump did.
Type of documents President Trump had. That's one of the questions we've asked National Archives. Just because Joe Biden's lawyers said they turned over 5 documents doesn't mean they just turned over 5 documents. They could have turned over 500 documents. I'm sorry, but I don't have a lot of confidence in President Biden's personal lawyers.
The number of documents don't even matter here. It's how they were given up. One side said, no, we don't have any documents, denied, denied, denied. The other side found them and just gave them right away to the National Archives. Very different situation.
At the end of the day, the National Archives implied to us at former Chairman Maloney's request and told us that the National Archives was working with the Trump administration during the transition. That's the last communication we had with whether or not the archives had worked with Trump on removal of all the documents from the White House. So we don't know exactly what Trump has versus what Biden has.
Just ignoring all the reporting that's already come out about what Trump did in terms of denying that they had the documents, all the requests that were made, he's just going over, ignoring completely all of that to try and compare these two situations where there is no comparison.
At the end of the day, my biggest concern isn't the classified documents, to be honest with you. My concern is how there's such a discrepancy in how former President Trump was treated by raiding Mar-a-Lago, by getting the security cameras, by taking pictures of documents on the floor, by going through Melania's closet.
Trump was raided because he would not give the documents back. 8 months of this shit. That's why there was a raid. There was no raid in Biden's situation because there was no need for a raid. The lawyers found the documents and gave them to the National Archives. All this shit is so obvious that this is why I didn't cover the story initially. I just thought this was obvious, right? But apparently not. Not for, it's a lot of this is because cable news knows this is the next ratings draw to try and, both sides of the situation is a way to get more eyeballs on the story. Make a story out of nothing because they have, I guess, nothing in their minds that is interesting enough to try and grab some eyeballs. So they make this into this massive issue when it just is not. Now let's get to Jamie Raskin, of course, a Democrat. Here he is on CNN, fielding questions around Biden's documents.
Well, speaking of political footballs, take a listen to President Biden's reaction last year when he was asked on 60 Minutes about the classified documents found at Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago.
How that could possibly happen, how anyone could be that irresponsible. And I thought, what data was in there that may compromise sources and methods? Just totally irresponsible.
Now, on these comments that Biden's making here, again, I'm not seeing the full context here, but assuming the context is simply about the documents, not about holding them while he's being requested for them, but simply taking the documents, if that is what Biden is reacting to here, yeah, Biden is being hypocritical here. He's to call Trump irresponsible for keeping those or for taking the documents to begin with, when he himself also took classified documents. Yeah, you can fairly argue that what Biden's saying here is hypocritical and stupid. But when we look at the bigger picture and what actually matters, the fact that Biden gave the documents up, or his lawyers gave them up when they found them, compared to Trump, who did not do that, that is the actual issue at hand.
Now we learned that President Biden had roughly 20 classified documents, including some marked top secret in 3 different locations. By Biden's own standard, wasn't Biden totally irresponsible with classified information? And aren't we right to wonder, to use Biden's words, quote, what data was in there that may compromise sources and methods?
Well, and I think we'll get to the bottom of all of that. I mean, that's why special counsel has been appointed by Attorney General Merrick Garland. He did the right thing there to look into it.
And look at the difference here between Raskin and Comer in the previous video, where Raskin is acknowledging that, hey, maybe that is an issue, and they're going to look into it. It's being investigated by Merrick Garland. So he's not denying that Biden did anything wrong. He's simply saying that part's going to be investigated. And then he goes on, I think, here to make the comparison to Trump, which is clearly much different.
I'm hoping that we will keep a sense of symmetry about our analysis of these situations and a sense of proportion about the underlying offenses. There's some people who are trying to compare having a government document that should no longer be in your possession to inciting a violent insurrection against the government of the United States. And those are obviously completely different things. That's apples and oranges. So we should keep a sense of proportion and measure about what we're talking about.
The first batch of documents was found on November 2nd, a week before the midterms, but the public didn't learn about it until it was reported in the press just this past week. And even then, the White House didn't acknowledge that a second batch of documents had been found in December until that, too, leaked. Chairman Comer has a point when he says we learned about this because CBS News reported on it, and then everybody else followed and got that information. Now we've learned they found more documents than previously disclosed in a third location. It's hard to argue that the administration's been transparent and told the American people about this as soon as they could have.
Well, of course, it was a very rapid clip at which we learned about it compared to the Trump case, where he fought it for nearly a year or perhaps over a year. And the government investigators had to go to court in order to get a subpoena to go to Mar-a-Lago to get dozens of boxes of classified material and government documents that were being held down there. So, look, I don't know yet, and I'm hoping our investigations will reveal what you're supposed to do if one of these documents surfaces. Obviously, presidents and vice presidents are able to take those documents while they are president or vice president home with them. And if some of them get mixed in with their other stuff, well, then they're there. And then the question is, what do you do with them afterwards? And I've not seen a set of protocols or procedures that defines what exactly should happen. But I'm satisfied that President Biden's lawyers did the right thing in immediately contacting the archives and turning them over, as well as over to the Department of Justice.
I think it's very clear. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be clear for the public, because the way that media covers issues, that has an impact. Just simply the focus on the story has an impact on how people perceive a variety of things. So this case is, I think, going to be impacted by that. As this is in The Guardian, quote, "This may be pure sloppiness on Biden's part or the Biden's team part, but it doesn't matter," said Larry Sabato, director of the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia. "In the public mind, now they will say, well, a pox on both your houses. You're both guilty. Shame on you both. It's over. The issue could become a continuing political headache for Biden," Sabato added. "It's just a real distraction. It was totally unnecessary. Every White House makes mistakes, and this is a big one they made." Agreed. So this is going to have an impact simply because of the focus on the story. And oftentimes these stories are boiled down to just the simplest of perspectives. Oh, Biden had private documents or classified documents just like Trump. Well, they're the same. ignoring the entire context of why it was a big deal that Trump had those documents and would not give them back. That was the issue. In addition to, of course, encouraging an overturning of an election. Like that. We can't, how are we forgetting that part? So I'm glad Raskin brought it up in his appearance. But like, that's the bigger story here. The issue with Trump isn't just these documents and that he was requested and to give them back and to give them back. The issue is literally everything else. Like, that's the bigger issue. So I don't know. I still, as I've said over and over, I still don't think Biden should run for president again. I think he should not step down. I think he should make it clear immediately, as soon as possible, that he is not going to run again, giving time for a primary, process to unfold and have some proper challengers in place. Because the only person that I'm confident that Biden could beat is Trump. And I'm not confident that Trump's going to be the nominee yet. DeSantis, I think, still has a shot, even though, yes, in terms of his charisma, if you see DeSantis in any videos, not really all that charismatic. But Trump also, he's losing some popularity compared to DeSantis, so we have to see how all that plays out. But regardless, I think there are many, maybe not many, but at least a handful of potential Democratic candidates that would perform better against both Trump and DeSantis or anyone else that the Republicans throw up. So I hope that Biden thinks long and hard about this, especially now that there's going to be all of this issue and Trump will try and swat his own transgressions away by pointing out these classified documents that Biden had. Biden has to be aware of the politics here and how it doesn't look good on him, even though the facts are on his side. Regardless, it doesn't look good for the public, and that's going to have a potential to hurt him going into another election.